Okay, here's the last of the lessons. This will be broken up into two parts. Let me see if I can get this a little bit better. Okay, so the notes, you guys have these notes already in your notebook, so let's take a look. So solving triangle problems, the first thing we do is we have to determine what type of triangle it is, and based on what type of triangle it is, or the information that we're given, is going to tell us how to solve it. So if the triangle is a right triangle, so there's information in the problem to lead us to believe it's a right triangle, we use SOHCAHTOA to solve it. Again, if you're going to get these notes down again, or you don't have these notes, pause the video at any time. I'm going to move pretty quickly through this. If the triangle is not a right triangle, we move on. And if we're given a side angle side looking for the third side, or a side 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 looking for an angle, we use law of cosines. And the law of cosines is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of a. Now that's a formula that's on the formula sheet. You don't have to know you don't have to memorize the formula, you just have to know when to use it. Okay? Now let's say if the triangle is not a right triangle and the law of cosines won't work, now we use law of sines. And the law of sines is you take any side and you put it over the sine of the angle opposite. So a over sine A is equal to b over sine B, which is equal to c over sine C. You're going to set up a proportion, so you're going to use any two of these three. It's a unique property about triangles that sides and angles form, the sine of the side and the sine of the angle forms a ratio that's equal throughout the triangle. Okay? So those are the three steps you're going to have to go through to determine what you're going to have to use. All right, so and you'll see those steps being shown in the next set of problems. So we're going to go right to my first couple of examples. My first couple of examples, we start out with I'm given a right triangle and I'm missing a side. So since I'm given a right triangle, I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA. To determine which one I use, I'm going to take the triangle from the angle that's given, and from the angle, this side is the opposite and this side is the hypotenuse. So that means we're going to be using sine. So we have sine of 38 degrees is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the sine over 1. We're going to cross multiply. We get x is equal to 15 sine of 38. All right. Once I get there, I'm all ready to determine what x is. For all these questions, we're going to round all answers to the nearest tenth. So you're going to have to figure that out when the question's asked in terms of what they're going to be looking for. So once I get down to here, I'm going to check my mode. So I'm going to hit mode, and I want to make sure I am in degree mode, and I am. So second quit. Now I'm ready to calculate, and all I do is type in 15 sine 38. Round that to the nearest tenth, and we get 9.2. So 9.2 is going to be the answer for example number 1. All right. Example number 2, a little bit different. Again, it's a right triangle, so we don't have to go very far in terms of down our steps. It's a right triangle, so we're going to use SOHCAHTOA. Again, we look at the triangle from the angle that's marked, and then we look at the sides that are marked from that angle. So the opposite side and the adjacent side are marked. The trig function that deals with opposite and adjacent is tangent. So the tangent of x has to equal opposite 5 over 8. All right, if the trig function is already by itself, and I need to get the angle, the only way you can get rid of the trig function is to do the inverse of the trig function. So tan inverse of tan x is equal to, I'm going to do the inverse to the other side, tan inverse of 5/8. All right, now what happens here is the tan inverse and the tan cancel, and I'm left with the measure of angle x equals. On this side, this is calculated by going to the calculator. All right, so I'm going to clear it out. I'm going to hit second and then tangent, and you can see the tan -1, and I just plug in the 5/8, 5 divided by 8. Hit enter, and then that will be the degree measure. To the nearest tenth is 32 degrees. So that's the answer to number 2. All right, next question is example number 3. So if you would, you should be copying these questions down and then copying the solutions down. Maybe trying them on your own if you can. All right, so here we go. There's nothing to lead me to believe that this triangle is a right triangle, so I'm going to move on to law of cosines. Am I given a side, angle, side, looking for the third side? The answer is yes. So I know I'm going to use law of cosine. Write down the law. A squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine a. And if you remember in class, the way we use this formula is whatever angle we use. So 36 is going to replace the a. The side opposite's got to be by itself. So this a is going to be x squared is equal to, and then it doesn't matter b and c. So I'm going to let b be 10.5 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 10.5 times 13 times the cosine of 36 degrees. Now this all cleans up real nice. When you're using the calculator, calculate this in 3 parts. So x squared, there's nothing I need to do yet. Then I'm going to calculate 10.5 squared plus 13 squared. So 10.5 squared plus 13 squared. I'm going to get 279.25 minus, and then I'm going to plug all this into the calculator. So, and you can see it get done. So it's 2 times 10.5 times 13 times cosine 36. I get 220.8616. I'm going to go to 4 decimal points. I want to round it to the nearest 10, so go 4 decimal places. You don't have to worry about a rounding error. So x squared is going to equal, I'm going to subtract these two, 279.25 minus 220.8616. I'm going to get 58.3884, and then I'm going to take the square root of that, and so I go second on the calculator, second, and then x squared is the square root, and if I want to take that answer and plug it in, I just hit second and then answer and hit enter. Rounding that answer to the nearest tenth is just 7.6. Okay, next video will be a continuation from example number 3.